Our first cemetery was not Oakland. Our first cemetery is where the Joe D. Wagner building was downtown. Later, the Dahl family.
Which is really downtown.
Which is really downtown. It's 2 blocks from Texas. And the Dahl family and some other families would build these beautiful Victorian homes right there where that location is. But where the Dahl house was, where Joe D. Wagner is now, was a much higher hill. That was our first cemetery, and it was full in less than 20 years. Now, you can say, well, that's because of the problems you had because of dietary problems and health problems and all that. But a lot of it was people getting shot. I used to joke, I've given a little speech, and I'd say they literally had drive-by burials. I mean, bodies, unfortunately, were kind of dumped there sometimes.
And what year was this?
This is from around 35 when Shreveport was founded up until about 1850. It's less than 20 years. We filled
the Bloody Cattle period.
Yeah, the Bloody Cattle period. And it was, because this was a frontier town mixed with a river town, mixed with a cotton and agricultural town. And we were the western edge of the frontier in 1835.
You know, it's interesting, and this is such a touchy subject for people in Shreveport. Are we even still, because I have so many friends from South Louisiana who live here, and when we do the Cajun thing, they just kind of giggle.
Yeah, well.
Is Shreveport at its core a town in search of a culture?
No, we have one. We just don't recognize it
Tell
or
me
acknowledge
what it
it
is.
or embrace it.
Tell me what it is. Tell me what we don't embrace.
We're not Cajun. We're not Creole.
Right.
We are Louisiana, but we're also frontier, which makes us a little bit of Texas, a little bit of southern Arkansas, a little bit of Oklahoma. But we are a Louisiana frontier town.
I'll agree with that, but let me go one more step.
Go ahead.
Whenever you were talking about the violence, I think it goes back to structure. I'm an old teacher, and I did teach at Hamilton Terrace and J.S. Clark and inner city schools, so I'm used to kids who had problems with classrooms, and the problem was a structure. They're not interested in structure, and whenever you say, in a lot of cases, most of what we're seeing the violence is drug related, and people in that particular world don't want structure. They're entrepreneurs. I hate to say it that way, but they really are entrepreneurs. They're making their own way, and it's a violent life. But our problem is they don't want structure. They want to have their own freedom to go do what they want to do, and the rest of us, in a lot of cases, have gotten into structure, and we understand it's the same way in the classroom. There were certain children you were going to teach who didn't have a background towards structure. And so that's Ernie's view of the world, but I think that relates into a lot of this. They want their own version of freedom, which goes back to what? Frontier life. So that's my 2 cents.
What happened to that, what you said, Shreveport, North Louisiana culture? What happened that suddenly we want to have Mardi Gras parades? When we've
always had Mardi Gras. We had them in the 1890s.
What?
Right.
We had Mardi Gras parades in the 1890s. We got pictures of the Mardi Gras parades. We had a big Mardi Gras culture, and
with floats as big and as elaborate as the ones we have now.
Pardon me. I guarantee you, 99 out of 100 people listening, 99 out of 100 people in Shreveport have no idea.
We all think it started in 1989.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Ernie?
Yeah, it started in the 1890s. As a matter of fact, you remember Annie McCune, the Shreveport Madam, actually had girls on a float one time. That kind of raised a ruckus. But then it goes away during the 1910s. We're in the progressive era at that time. Goes away. It's rejuvenated whenever Colonel Ewing buys the Shreveport Times, and his son wants to be involved in Mardi Gras. So for 3 years in the 1920s, we have Mardi Gras again, and then it goes away again, and we don't see it again until 1989. But what we were supplanting that with, planter culture. And they had balls, and they had different clubs, and that's what was going on.
How much of that did you know? You know as much as anybody. And as soon as he said we had Mardi Gras parades in the 1890s, you went, yes.
I've seen the pictures.
How many people do you know? I guarantee you 99% what I said a couple of minutes ago. I had no idea of that.
And it may be probably because the fact that a lot of us spend our time trying to figure out how we're Cajun, how we're Creole, and how we're somehow a part of South Louisiana as opposed to being comfortable with who and what we are.